We are live. I think there was a prompt on the screen. So, all right, welcome everybody to our stream. This is something relatively new, which Rob and I are trying. So, we're essentially Arsenal fans who are trying to bring a different perspective to the YouTube space. So, I'm Dre, and I've got Rob.
AFC Rob,
AFC Rob.
great to be here with you, Dre, and to
Salute.
finally salute my bro, and to finally get this up and running. And yeah, to add to what Dre's been saying, yeah, we're here to maybe give a slightly different perspective on things as far as Arsenal and yeah, the day-to-day proceedings, and yeah, bring a little bit of reasoning and some slightly different analysis. And yeah, we hope we can bring something of some value to you guys. And yeah, let's see how we get on.
Very good, very good. Yeah, so yeah, we're long-standing Arsenal fans. We've seen the club evolve from not doing so good to doing very well, and then going through a massive transition, and then now having a young manager who's been in charge for a couple of years now, and there's a growing sentiment amongst the fan base on whether he should still stay in situ or not. But that's something we'll cover later on. So I think let's make a start, Rob, AFC Rob. Uh,
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
I want to make a start by talking about your views on Arsenal's transfer business so far. So we have signed a couple of players, notably Norgard, Kepa, Zubimendi, Madueke, Mosquera, and the huge one,
Big
Jokeres.
man.
Or sometimes I think the pronunciation is Jokeres, apparently not Jokery, so you don't pronounce the G. But anyway,
Yeah, or yes, at the end, let's
Jokeres.
see. Yeah, I have to do a bit of research there. But yeah, all in all, yeah, contrary to maybe some of the other channels at the moment giving, quite a moderate evaluation, maybe 6 out of 10, I would maybe stretch it a bit further, maybe 7. Yeah, the only question mark in there for me is Noni Madueke. Obviously 56 million. Yeah, that's a lot. All right, that's euros, but 50 million, a lot of money. But at the same time, we know that the payment structure is quite favourable, and we didn't have to pay too much up front. And it will be even more justified, I think, if we bring in, another mid attacking forward player. I would say Eze. Eze would definitely complete that roster there. So let's see. If we don't bring in the likes of, another attacking midfielder, I think that Noni Madueke signing will come into question a bit more. But yeah, let's see. Sorry. So yeah, the Martin Zubimendi signing, I think we've been expecting it for a long time. Bit of an anticlimax. Now it's finally here. But we can't overlook his quality. One of the best ball-playing midfielders in La Liga. Um, at face value, it looks like he'd fit into an Arteta midfield there, complementing Rice and hopefully freeing up Odegaard a bit more. Um, yeah, Mosquera bringing in a bit more depth in the centre half picture. I think there's definitely future considerations there with the possibility of the likes of a Saliba moving on over the course of the next 2 years maybe perhaps to the likes of Real Madrid. So it's good to see there's some future planning in there. I like the look of him. He has the pace, power, he has the physical attributes that you would expect an Arsenal centre half to have nowadays, looking at the likes of Saliba, the likes of Gabriel. And yeah, let's see. He's going to be in direct competition with them, learning from them. He's only going to be getting better. Really pleased with Norgard as well. At face value, again, I'm thinking, bringing in the 31-year-old, midfielder from Bournemouth, but we have to remember he's the captain. And when you look at his qualities that he brings, his experience, that's real depth that we're bringing into the fold there. Yeah, really pleased. And as I always say about the character profile, he's already a leader, and he has, I'm sure, he'll have quite a calming and if not galvanizing influence on the team when needed. And finally, Kepa, good bit of business if you ask me. 5 million. He's gonna give David Raya a run for his money for sure. In training, keep him on his toes. But ultimately, yeah, good second choice, and yeah, hopefully you'll get some cup games in there. And yeah, and as I said, the emphasis on me to bump this up to an 8 or even a 9, to be fair. If we're talking about an Eze coming in, that would really put the icing on the cake, and I think we can collectively as Arsenal fans start to, think about challenging for some of the major titles.
Yeah, no, that's a really balanced take on events, Rob. The thing that, as you say, splits opinion is Madueke. I think overall, the Romanian transfers have been generally well received when you look at the outgoings. But I think the Madueke signing is almost become a victim of the Havertz signing, and it's left a precedence of bad taste amongst the fan base. So I think if you evaluate Madueke's signing on its merit, it's hard to argue that actually that's not a decent signing because he's a young player. He can play on both wings. He can be
Yeah,
backup for Saka, who the fan base have been screaming has been overplayed for a few seasons now. So when evaluated on its own merit, you could argue that actually that's a decent signing. And as you said as well, financially, it was probably a more viable transfer for Arsenal to complete. Hence, the speed with which we completed that transfer. But it's rather unfortunate that we have another signing, or we made another signing a couple of years earlier and have it, which has split quite a lot of opinion, and that's left a bit of a sour taste in terms of signing players from Chelsea. So there's a lot of extenuating factors, I suppose you could argue, why
yeah.
the Madueke signing is seen as a bit controversial. But I am quietly confident that it will probably work out given the practicalities of it. So I totally agree with you. I think when you mentioned Norgard as well, do you think like Norgard is a good in terms of level? Do you think he would replace what Partey gave us?
No, I think he's something slightly more, something different. Um, yeah, there's a lot of disrespect, I think, put on Partey's name. Uh, he kind of made good, let's say, over the course of the past 18 months. I know he's been, inhibited with injuries, but no one can really deny his quality in terms of, in terms of a deep lying midfielder that can essentially break up play, who's physical in the duel, can read the game well. But then at the same time, once transitions turned over, we're in possession, he progresses the ball very quickly forwards, uh, you know, pressed resistant. He has, yeah, a highly desired repertoire of skills and capability, and they're not so easily found, especially in the modern game.
Mm.
We seem to be, I don't know, moving away from that, but that's just maybe my personal opinion. But at the same time, yeah, I think Norgard is more defensive minded. I would say he was more in the mold of uh, of Rice, maybe in many respects, rather than rather than Partey. I think the comparisons are going to be drawn between Zubamendi and Partey, uh,
Mm.
and, and yeah, there are still question marks for me there around physical duels. I know Zubamendi's very good at interceptions. I think he's proven that, and his game IQ, his intelligence to get around the park, sniff out danger. But I think the Premier League's going to really test him when it comes to physical duels and just those general. hustles and bustles. That's where the question marks are going to be. So, yeah, it's a bit early for me to be able to draw the comparisons. But let's say that's the concern I have at this point. But really glad that he's come in. As I said earlier, one of the best ball playing midfielders, arguably in Europe. But let's see. We can hopefully have those conversations soon.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's always the uncertainty, isn't it? When the player transitions from another league into the Premier League, which is, physically um, challenging in every aspect of the game, you're always left to wonder whether the player can adapt and cope with the physical demand. So I think, yeah, Zubimendi is going to be a key one. He's a very intelligent player, as you say, very high IQ. The way he
Mm.
intercepts and his choice of passes, his positioning at 26 is incredible. It's again, it goes back to the point. Can he withstand the pressure, the physical pressure of the Premier League, the intensity, the demands, game in, game out? So I'm glad that we've got a player like Norgard who's Premier League experienced and can offer adequate backup. I think when you look at last season, we had Jorginho and Partey, and now we've got Zubimendi and Norgard. You could argue that that's comfortably an upgrade on previous season. But like I said, there's a huge unknown with Zubimendi. He's a quality player, undoubtedly, has a good brain. The adaptation, I think, is the lingering doubt in a lot of Arsenal fans' mind.
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt. Um, as such a technically gifted player, again press resistant. Drawing comparisons there to Partey, but even aesthetically, I think they're quite different. But let's hope let's hope that he can bring a similar effect to the game. I think maybe with his progressive passing, he's definitely a notch up, maybe. But yeah, let's see. Exciting times, and yeah, it's it's when we look. I'm just looking here at these 6 signings. I mean, how long has it been? Since we've brought in this many players. First team players. Um, there is a concern, for us to maybe get in the final piece of the puzzle with Eze around outgoings. Perhaps I've heard murmurs that that we'll need to sell before we can bring in Eze, which is, I don't know how true that is, but looking at what we've spent, it's definitely a consideration. I mean, what's your thoughts there? Firstly, do we need an Eze? And if so, how feasible is it for us to get him?
Yeah, I mean, all the talk in the papers and the media is that Arsenal have made contact with Eze's camp and he's shown a strong desire to join. The main sticking point is whether we can negotiate a fee with Palace that is reasonable.
Mm.
They're talking about something in the region of 60 million. I mean, and that's clearly a lot of money for Arsenal to spend in terms of transfer outlay. I do believe there is probably some credibility to the reports that we might have to sell. There are two areas in our attack for me that needs optimization: left wing and the number 10 role. I think we don't generate enough goals from these positions. So that role, the left wing, is obviously currently occupied by Trossard and Martinelli, who are almost the total antithesis of each other in terms of Trossard is a lot more clinical. He's a lot more um, he has a lot more cutting edge to him, whereas Martinelli's a runner. He's kind of an all rounder, but his cutting edge is quite poor. And then you've got Odegaard in the number 10 role, who's very good at orchestrating play, but again, he lacks that potency in terms of driving up the opposition and creating chances and scoring. For me, I think nothing beats scoring goals. Assists and all these expected goals and measures are great, but you need a player who can come in, drop a shoulder, create a chance, or score. and that's what Eze brings. Eze brings that extra momentum.
100% totally agree. Can you imagine Eze on the left? He can play quite comfortably playing the 10 or on the left. Can you imagine a front three? Eze, Gyökeres, and Saka. That's really saying something. And yeah, just some observations about Ødegaard, especially from last season. Yeah, there were all murmurs that he was injured. He was nursing an injury through the second half of the season. That's yet to be confirmed. But based on the observations, I think it's clear that Ødegaard thrives when he has the right personnel in midfield there with him to do the. We know that Ødegaard covers the ground in terms of yards, but in terms of really imposing themselves in a physical way and really facing up on duels, having the likes of Rice in there, the option of having a Rice and a Norgard in there would potentially free him up a lot more. It's more probably going to be Rice and Zubimendi. But it would be interesting with Zubimendi coming in to see maybe that some of the creative expectation won't fall so heavily on Odegaard's shoulders, which will maybe provide more variance in our play, more opportunity, a little bit more unpredictability. And then you throw Eze into the equation as well. You're really working with something, Yeah, the potential's there. And I think the general sentiment is, we get Eze in, and it is Eze. Let's be honest. Let's get him in, and yeah, he will. It will kind of fit into everything. Will fit into place quite nicely in terms of us having two more or less two first team players for each position. But not only that, a certain level of quality, especially on the left hand side where we can see there's been some gaping holes for a while. Let's say. So, I mean, what are your feelings? I mean, around the outgoings, talking about us maybe having to balance things out a little bit. What are your thoughts on that side?
Yeah, I mean, look, I genuinely hope we're in a position to bring in Eze. We bring in Eze and we'll figure out who needs to leave. I think we're at that point now where we need to be moving to the next level. I mean, the attack needed open heart surgery after last season, and that's what we've done practically. With the number of players we brought in. So I think Eze would complete that surgery for us.
Yeah.
I would hate to be in a position where we're looking at. It's been mentioned whether it could be Trossard. Jesus is injured, so he's probably less of a credible short-term option for sale for us. But I see Jesus leaving at some point this side of the year. But I sincerely hope that Arsenal can bring in Eze and then contemplate who needs to leave after. Not the other way around, because the longer we leave it, the more it creates that instability, trying to integrate such a key player into the squad. Don't forget, we're going to talk about our fixture list in a minute. We have some tough fixtures coming up, and it's important to have the squad fully settled, fully integrated, going to the first game of the season. So, yeah, absolutely. I sincerely hope that we can complete the Eze transfer and then figure out who needs to leave. And I hope financially we're in a position to do that. There's also talk of Reece Nelson potentially going to Fulham and then Fabio Vieira. So Palace, I think, have made it quite clear that they want a down payment of 30 or 35 million, regardless of the deal. So I think that's basically the reality of the financial challenge that Arsenal facing. That if we can raise that amount, and we make the deal happen, and then we figure out who needs to get out the door.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it will come down to, as you mentioned earlier, are there any financial constraints? What's the budget? Are there controls in place? I don't know, from a Kroenke standpoint, from an ownership standpoint, around how much we can spend. Yeah, there's often been statements coming out, especially from a few years ago,
Hmm.
around coming down from the board around Arsenal becoming self-sufficient.
Hmm.
So again, there may be constraints around how much we can spend, and I don't want to sound like like an Arsenal top gooner,
Mm.
but that might be something that we're working through. But from my perspective, we should go in. I totally agree, Dre.
Yeah.
We go
No.
in, we get him, and then we tidy up shop after. You know, that's it. But yeah, get rid of Reece Nelson. I was a little bit disappointed, and you might think it's a bit hard of me to say, but about Martinelli staying, I thought he would be prime. You know, regardless of Trossard's age, I think his impact off of the bench has been proven. I don't think Martinelli's kicked on over the past couple of seasons. Granted, injuries, but nevertheless, you know, we need to be clinical as well in our decision making, and we could raise a fair bit for Martinelli if we're bringing in Eze as a replacement. I think it's a no-brainer. But the only showstopper is Martinelli's wages, right? He's on 180, I think,
Right.
if I'm not mistaken. And who's going to pay 180 for Martinelli unless one of the big boys come in? And has he really shown that form uh,
Yeah.
to warrant that type of move? So he's kind of in limbo a little bit, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I think Martinelli's a bit of an odd one. I'll say his IQ is not as high as Eze, and he hasn't got Trossard's cutting edge. So yeah, you're right. He's in a bit of a limbo, and yeah, it comes down to how much money we can raise from a potential transfer.
Mm.
Um, I see like the perfect left winger for us would have the attributes of Trossard's, unpredictability, Eze's, creativity and IQ, and then Martinelli's industry and endeavor.
And speed, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
and speed. One
Yeah,
thing, I mean, Martinelli gets heavily criticized, and I agree. I mean, he hasn't really pushed on, but one thing he does offer the team is the outlet. Every time we're in transition or on a fast break, Martinelli's always at the end of it if he's on the pitch.
yeah.
Look at
That's the
Real.
thing, though, isn't it?
Mhm.
It's we're not really in transition. That we're not really a transition type team. And the thing is, and it's almost inevitable. He's going to go somewhere else, and he's going to go. If he goes to the right team, play the right kind of football, this transition-based football, counter-attacking football, where Martinelli has the opportunity to face up one-on-one with 40 yards behind the defender to run into. I think he'll do really well and he'll kick on. I think Klopp a few seasons ago now was complimenting Martinelli,
Mm,
and we saw it as a little bit of a cheeky bit of flirtation there. But the reality is, if he would have went to Liverpool at that time, he probably would have kicked on, and he would have been the Martinelli we would have hoped him to be. Because there's no question the potential was there, but he just hasn't. I don't know. You said his IQ.
mm,
Yeah, I don't know how intelligent he is in terms of decision making and positional play, but you can't knock his industry.
mm.
But yeah, I think it's a good time for him to move on. You know.
Yeah. I look at the game against Real Madrid in the Champions League last season away from home, and that second goal he scored, where he practically ran half the length of the
Yeah,
pitch in the 90th minute. And I look at the current squad, and I think he could potentially do that in the 90th minute of the game. And I think Madueke could, you know, Saka, perhaps,
yeah,
but this is I guess this is where Martinelli splits opinion that he does some of the most outrageous shit on a football pitch in terms of decision making, and he goes and does something like that, in the 90th minute where he's, pretty much burning and leaving behind every defender in his wake. So yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be sad if he left. I think he, like you say, he would work. He would do very well in a transition team or a team that plays on a fast break like Klopp's Liverpool. Where you don't have to engage too much of cognitive concentration. You're just, playing on instinct when you're through on goals. So, and I think that's the way Martinelli does. That's what Martinelli does. But you never
Yeah,
know. I think if he stays for another season, I think we will be forced to see a different side of Martinelli just because of the players we've brought in. And if we bring in Eze as well, we've now got. We're going to move on to Jokeres in a minute. We've now got a focal point of a striker who is absolutely determined and focused on scoring and nothing else. He's not messing around with 20 touches around the box. He's looking to get behind defenders. I think it'd be interesting to see how that kind of forces an evolution in the way we attack. So but I want to
yeah.
play this video from Jokeres briefly, and then we'll move on. um, let's see what you think.
What this last month has been like, kind of waiting, not knowing.
Can you hear it?
I'm sure we
Turn
hear
it up
it?
a little bit. Yeah, just a bit
Okay.
more.
Let's see. I've got the volume fully up, so let's see.
read stuff and just kind of
Nice.
the big hype around this move. Just how has it been for you?
Yeah, it's been a new experience. I haven't really been in that situation before. So it's been a lot of waiting from my side, where I just wanted to come here, but wasn't that easy. But I'm finally here, and it feels great. To be honest.
What would you do when you're just kind of waiting around, just waiting for news? Is it just kind of, how did you keep yourself busy and not think about it too much, or not worry about it too much?
No, I just try to train as much as possible by myself, and then just keep the day going, really. So it was a lot of days where it was just the same kind of routine, where I just woke up, trained, had dinner, and then went to bed again. So it was it was like that for a few weeks, but it was worth it for sure.
Wix, one platform, any website, unlimited creation. Describe.
Victor, Mikel Arteta explained why they were so keen to sign you, all your attributes of goal scoring and your attitude, and that you wanted to sign for Arsenal. What made you want to come to Arsenal?
Of course, I felt that they wanted me here, but also because it's a very, very big club with a lot of history, and I just felt that I really wanted to come here and to be a part of this club.
There was reports there was other clubs interested. Did you have a decision to make at any point?
I think you can always have decision of your future, and of course there was other clubs as well, but I didn't feel it was a difficult choice for me this time, to be honest.
You've come in and you've taken the 14 shirt. Do you know the history of that? Obviously, Thierry Henry wore that and made it iconic. Was that in your thinking why you took that number?
Of course I know about the history, but then also, to be honest, there wasn't so many numbers available, so wasn't too many to pick from. But of course that one was available. So when I knew that, I think it was an easy choice. Different also from me. So I think I just want to try to do my own thing, to be honest.
Victor, coming back to England and the Premier League, did you feel like was that always in your mind? Did you have a bit of unfinished business maybe in England?
No, I don't think it was always on my mind, but of course that could have been an option when I was in Portugal to come back, because obviously it's the best league in the world, so of course that was always a goal to play in the Premier League. So when I felt it was the right time, I didn't hesitate to come back.
And obviously your goal record in Portugal is amazing, but there have been some players who have had great records scoring in Portugal. Maybe Darwin, for example, didn't translate.
So yeah, I think it's difficult to compare one player to another and how they're performing in a different league, because yeah, it's a lot of different factors, not only a better league. Yeah, if you play in a better team also, it makes it easier, I think, especially if you're an attacking player. So yeah, we will have to see.
Given the transfer links with Arsenal over the past year, have you been watching the team regularly?
Yeah, of course I've been watching them. Maybe not regularly, but yeah, when I've had the chance, I've been watching them. Yes.
We saw you unveiled the other night. You came out of the tunnel, flames. You got all the fans waiting for you to come out, and the expectation, and everyone doing your trademark.
All right, I think we've got a good mix of things there to discuss. But what are your thoughts on Gyökeres and some of the things he's saying?
Well, firstly, in any high performance sport or any high performance industry, the margins are so small that it really does come down more often than not to behavior, mental capacity, discipline, and mindset. And even there, in that brief dialogue, you can see that he's very concise. Doesn't really give much away. He seems very straightforward. Okay, there's a bit of a language gap, perhaps, although Scandinavians are known for speaking English very well. Slight side note. It may be some of those things, but I've heard him in other interviews as well. Even when he first arrived at the club, Martin Odegaard sent him a letter, and in the letter it said something to the effect of, "Oh, welcome to the club, and if there's anything I can do for you, please let me know." And all of those kind of pleasantries. To which Gyökeres said, "Yeah, you can give me assists. Give me assists." Straight to the point. He hasn't got any time for any nicety. This isn't the nice boy club. Yeah, he's here. He's one track minded, and he's ready to do business. So from a mentality standpoint, I like that. I always say winners are nasty, or can be seen as nasty. They're objective. They're there about their business. That's it. I'm not talking about win the dog or any niceties. He's there. He knows what his job is, and he's very intent on doing it. His personality reminds me a little bit of Bergie, and visually as well. He has that kind of demeanor, calculated, determined. Yeah. Again, you can see what a physical specimen the guy is. I think he's around 6'3". I think he's about 90 kilos, I would guess, 85 to 90 kilos. Stamina, like you wouldn't know. Yeah, really some athlete. But in some ways, a little bit of a concern. Maybe not the time to go into the detail around how he plays, but it could be a gift and a curse for him, because I've seen, in some features of his play, I think, well, over the first 2, 3, 4, 5 yards in the Premier League, is he quick enough? Does he have enough technical ability? We can all see once he gets going. Once he gets to 10 yards, the momentum's there. It's very hard to stop him. Very quick. He's all in the shoulders. He's not having it. But for me, there's still question marks in those tighter packed areas. Does he have enough? Okay, we know he can hold a man off, but does he have the close ball control? And also, as I said, that speed over the first few yards, again, a little bit of a question mark there for me. But hey, we can't deny he's a proper gunman. We've got a proper gunman there. The stats say it all.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, really excited to have him. I mean, how do you feel on your side?
Yeah, I mean, like one thing that for me is easily noticeable. I think his communication is actually quite good, and his the quality of his English and grammar and choice of words actually tells me that even though English is not his first language, he's actually a very intelligent player. You can see, and like you say, also there's a certain cold-blooded nature to him. he very straightforward. It's almost like a sniper's mentality. The gunman, like, yeah, man, I just want to shoot. I just want to get the job done. And he's not worried about pleasantries and all these noise. So yeah, I'm quietly. I think too. So we mentioned Zubimendi. We now mentioned Gyökeres. These are two players in key positions, and acclimatization adaptation is really important for them. In our team, that they need to hit the ground running and perform straight away. With Gyökeres, my hope for him is he stays fit and he hits the ground running, as in scores quite early to build confidence. And given the heavy hand we've been dealt with in the fixture list, I think that's going to be quite challenging. But one thing that I see about him as well is I think he's going to, for whenever a striker plays on the shoulder of a last defender, right, it spells trouble. One is he's going to cause a lot of panic, and he's going to put a lot of defenders at risk of red cards, which is what Haaland does for Man City. He plays on the shoulders, drifts in and out. Defenders don't like that. So the key thing you mentioned is how quick he is over the first couple of yards. And he's a bit of an unknown at the moment. I've seen him, once he gets going, the power is quite obvious.
Yeah.
But I think, look, this guy is only going to improve our attack.
For sure. For sure. There are question marks, though, that are maybe more systemic, not really about Gyökeres directly, but around how we play. And we know Arteta, he doesn't have a great track record with out-and-out strikers. Of the 32 or 33 signings that he's made, it might even be more than that now. How many of them are strikers? Comments, answers in the comments. And also in terms of his style of play, we're going to have to make some changes, I think, quickly as well. If we want Gyökeres to hit the ground running, we know it's a confidence game, especially for strikers. I agree, Dre. He needs to hit the back of the net and really get a confidence and understand our patterns of play. But here it is. Here's the catch. It's our patterns of play. We're going to have to make certain adaptations. This idea of us recycling the ball in a curve, holding possession, and this idea of control, and we're going to have to be a little bit more expansive at times and direct if we really want to get the most out of Gyökeres and for him to thrive. I think this is going to be a key factor. So the emphasis on me, the test, yes, it's for Gyökeres, but the emphasis for me is more on Arteta. And what are the measures that he's going to take to make sure that we get the best out of him? And again, question marks there for me. But this is a broader conversation because it's around Arteta now getting the personnel that he needs. There's nowhere to hide now.
Mm-hmm.
He has to make it work. Yeah. And here we will test his mettle, and we're either going to be victorious in some way, major honours, or we're going to fall short. And we know where we are as far as Arteta's concerned.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. There's a case to be made on both, the manager's side, the playing side, and the player's side, and it's how they all come together to make us competitive and hopefully win major trophies. So, okay, that takes us nicely into the next point, which is the upcoming season and what you think. I've got the fixture list up in a second. So I don't know. Can you see the tab? Let's
not at the moment.
Let's change that to. Can you see our fixture list?
Yes, I see it. Nice.
Right. So this is about expectations for the new season. So first game of the season is Sunday, 17th of August against Manchester United away at Old Trafford, and then we host Leeds the following week, and then we're away at Liverpool, and then we host Nottingham Forest, and then we host Man City, and then we go to Newcastle. 6 games, 3. So Liverpool, Man City, and Newcastle, top 5 last season. So 3 out of the 6 against the top 5. Nottingham Forest not too far behind. Leeds are newcomers, and Man United, who obviously finished in the lowly 15th, I think, but away at Old Trafford is obviously always a tough game. What are your thoughts? What are your expectations? Let's talk about your expectations for the season as a whole, and then this fixture list that we've got on the screen there. What you think?
Okay, so I think as a whole, there are non-negotiables around us challenging right until the final phases. We need to be there, talking about week 35, 36 in the mix, no compromises.
Yeah.
There are all these other external factors. Yeah, I get it, but we need to be competitive. We can't have a situation like we found ourselves in at the end of last season. So competitive in the league. The benchmark's been set as far as the Champions League's concerned, and we can talk about that another time. But this is the expectation. We kind of fell back a little bit in second last season. Season before that, we were a lot more competitive, as you know. And ultimately, that's what it comes down to. If we can be there in the mix in those final weeks, who knows? Who knows what can happen? But it can't be a one-horse race like it was last season. It's bad for the club. It's bad for the Premier League. And let's hope that doesn't happen again. As far as the first 5 fixtures, 6 fixtures, if we include Newcastle, wow, we've been stitched up a little bit, I think. But the games at the beginning of the season, for me, they tend to be more unpredictable. So looking at the Man United away game, you can roll the dice there. Can look at historical data and say, Arsenal, even though United, they're in a state, and we know they have been, they're fully in their banter era for a while. But somehow, some way, we still have difficulty beating them at Old Trafford, regardless of the 11 they put out. So that's definitely a factor as well. For me, this has draw written all over it. But again, it's a far stretch. I mean, what do you think, looking at United there?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, away at Old Trafford is always a difficult game. Even at their very lowest, we've still gone there and struggled. I think we won 3 seasons ago 1-0, and it was a very strange game. We barely dominated. I think it was Trossard who scored the only goal. That's when we ran City close. Last season, they probably were the better side. Rice got us back into it. Ryan made a couple of great saves to keep us in it. So it's anybody's game. I say you can roll the dice. Man United have always given the top sides a tough game. I think in recent years, even though they've been at their lowest ebb, I think they beat City last season, drew away at Anfield. So, in a one-off game against a team with history like Manchester United, you're always at risk of, getting sucker punched. And it is the first game of the season. The fans are going to be well up for it. It's either going to be a draw or Arsenal are going to win comfortably for me. I think United are definitely going to be competitive. Whether they're going to be good enough to beat Arsenal, I think if you say who's more likely to get a result, I would say Arsenal, right? In terms of a win, who's more likely to win is Arsenal. But who's more likely to get a result, at least a draw? I think Man United would. They would stick it out and, get at least a draw. So it's got a draw written all over it, I think. It's the first game of the season. I said we've got new recruits. I would hope that Jokeris starts, to be honest. I think. I hope Arteta is not conservative. I would like to see Gyökeres start, get at least 60 minutes under his belt. I'd like Zubimendi start. I don't want Arteta to be conservative. There's a feeling that I've seen a lot of fans mention this online, that whoever loses that game is going to feel the wrath of the fan base, obviously, but that could have a destabilizing effect. Now, would a loss have a more destabilizing effect on Arsenal than Man United? I would think so. I think if Man United lose, they'll say, well, they finished 15th the season before. They're trying to revive their fortunes, etc. Whereas Arsenal, we've made a transfer business. Especially if we buy Eze as well before that game.
Can you imagine?
And yeah, there will be a huge expectation on Arsenal to go and win the game. So I think a draw. If I was to say, probably 1-1, or Arsenal win comfortably, maybe 3-1, 2-1. But a draw is more likely, I think. Gut feel.
Do you think Gyökeres will start?
This is where I guess I question Arteta, because Arteta wouldn't want to lose that game. That's one thing about Arteta. No. That's why we have such a creditable record against the top six, in that we don't lose very often.
Yeah,
we've got quite a lot of draws in more recent. Yeah. We've got a lot of draws, and the games are usually very tight. Obviously, last season against City was a bit of an anomaly when we beat them 5-1, but generally we don't tend to lose. So I think Arteta will go and set out not to lose that game. So would Gyökeres start if he adopts that approach? I think probably not. He'll probably bring him on if we're chasing the game. We'll probably claw ourselves back into it. But I hope he starts. I hope Gyökeres starts. I hope Zubimendi starts. Those are the two key areas of the pitch. I don't want Arteta to go conservative, start Norgard and start Havertz. Right?
I think he's going to start Havertz or Mourinho.
Yeah.
Mourinho. Don't be surprised if it's Mourinho.
And that would be disappointing.
And maybe Gyökeres gets, I don't know, half an hour, 25 minutes.
Yeah. And I think also, I mean, in all fairness to Arteta, some of the things, sometimes us fans don't see the factors that play a crucial role in the decision making. So Gyökeres hasn't really had a preseason. We don't really know his condition.
Yeah.
I think the next two, we've got the Emirates Cup coming up, and that's going to obviously determine his condition and whether he'll be ready to start the season. But I think you look at him, like you say, he's quite a big guy. I think he will probably need to, the Premier League is a different physical proposition. So he will need to get up to speed. So if Arteta doesn't play him, it may well be due to other reasons, like maybe he's not in a good condition to start, or he hasn't, that could be a reason. So
yeah, we need to be reasonable. Understood. Yeah, definitely. I think in terms of Zubimendi, he's having a good preseason. Mm-hmm. Definitely been one of our better players. I think he's ready. I think he's ready, and I would expect to see him start that United game.
Yeah.
Gyökeres, again, I do think Havertz or Mourinho. But yeah, we need to be sensible with embedding Gyökeres into the team. Mm-hmm. And I'm not too mad about that, but I don't want to see this situation where Havertz is starting the first 5, 6, 7 games. I really don't. But no, let's be optimistic. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole quite yet. And I guess that moves us on to Arsenal at home to Leeds.
Yeah. So we've got Leeds, which obviously I expect to win. And then we've got Liverpool away. Again, it's a place we haven't lost for nearly 3 seasons now. I think we can set up and go to Liverpool and get a draw quite easy. Arteta now has the know-how to go to these top sides and snatch a draw. I think to win the league, we need to be going to these places and win. That's what needs to change for me. So it'd be interesting to see how we go and set up. Liverpool, obviously, a very good side. They've bought, especially if they get Isaac. Well, we're going to move on to rivals in a minute.
Isaac.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's going to be.
Yeah, no, totally agree. We're going to set up there, and funnily enough, away from home, when we set up with two deep banks, we tend to do okay in terms of goals conceded. Question marks from last season were up the other end, and let's see, is it going to be a situation where we find Gyökeres isolated, in a disconnect away from the midfield bank? Transitional play. Again, now we've got a little bit more speed and explosiveness in that dynamic. Is that going to be something that we could potentially exploit? We know that Liverpool like to come on. So are there spaces and opportunities that we can leverage? Are we going to be brave enough to take those opportunities? I agree with you. I think Arteta's going to err on the side of defensive, crab-like side-to-side football, trying to control the game. But Liverpool aren't going to let them do that. So when the game is in the mixer, can we take those opportunities in transition? And again, it goes back to that question mark around Arteta and him adapting his play, especially in transition, especially when we're pushed back into our own half. Do we have enough industry and smarts to have outlets that we can use in those situations to turn them into opportunities for us? And the likes of Gyökeres coming in, the likes of Zubimendi being able to pick a pass that can break the lines. Hopefully, we'll be able to find more of those opportunities. But I see it as being quite a cagey game, especially as an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think one of the things that's obviously going to change this season is we're going to have quality options on the bench. We're now going into these games where we're looking at the bench and we think we've got game changers, right?
Yeah.
If we have Eze, whether he starts or not, he will be available. We'll have Trossard, Madueke. We'll have
Dalman. We have to bring Dalman and Wanyeri into the picture as well. Wanyeri 100%. Dalman maybe a little sprinkle,
Yeah. So there will be a lot of attacking options, and if we need to shut the game down, we've also got options in Norgard, and then Merino, whether he starts or not, is also an option off the bench. So I think things are looking, the thing that is always worried me when we go into these games is I look at the first 11 like, okay, yeah, that's a solid first 11. I look at the bench, I'm thinking, if he all goes
like
belly,
that,
he's going to come on. But now I'm thinking, Madueke, whether you like it or not, defenders don't like to play against direct wingers.
He's the best stats, doesn't he, for
ball carrying,
successful ball carries, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's his end product, isn't it?
So. Yeah. So if you have, if you happen to have Madueke and Gyökeres on the pitch, that's going to create a different dynamic for the opposition, unlike what we saw last season.
Yeah, and really provide a foil for Saka as well. I mean, how many seasons now have we seen Saka being doubled up on, tripled up on in some extreme cases? Now it's going to give these defensive lines something else to think about. So hopefully it's going to increase Saka's productivity, or at least the amount of opportunities that he has. Because he's had it hard, and with the reins off a little bit, it could take him to the next level. So really excited about that as well.
Okay, sounds good. So that takes us nicely. I mean, looking at the screen there, let's go team for team. Your views on, I wouldn't say Man United are, obviously a direct competitor, but they're part of the historical top six. So let's our first six fixtures. Let's cover team by team. What are your thoughts on Man United as a whole in general? Where do you think they will finish? I guess.
Top 8.
Okay.
They could have another nightmare, but one thing I'll give Man United credit for is they're taking a pragmatic approach as far as their transfer policy is concerned this season. They're bringing in proven Premier League players, those that perform, essentially the best players outside the top 6 teams. Go and get them, re-establish that base, and build upon that. In saying that, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen this season for them. I believe they'll have, good phases. I think Mbemmo's a great player. Well, good player, let's say. Yeah, they've made some good signings. Their attacking line looks like it can be a game changer for them in certain cases, but ultimately the quality's not there for me, especially in depth over the course of 38 games. I don't see it. In the best case scenario, I see them fighting for the minor European Cup positions. But they could easily be top 10 in my case. If they don't get this period right, it could be another snowball effect for them. Maybe not as extreme as last season, but yeah, definitely not in the direction you'd expect them to be going. What do you think? What are your feelings on United this season?
Yeah, I think I tend to agree. They've bought the players they've bought have not been cheap. And the thing is, when you're not competing at the top level, you're forced to overpay for players. And I think that
Top dollar.
what they paid for Mbeumo in terms of transfer fee and wages is obviously quite excessive. But that's effectively what we had to do when we brought in Jesus and Zinchenko a couple of years ago to help raise the level.
Good point.
Where those players will help raise your level. Whether they can take you to the top is yet to be seen, but they will definitely help you claw your way back from the mediocre group of teams that you find yourselves in amongst. So I think Mbeumo is a good player. If they get Sesko, I don't know. I think Cunha is also a good player who, although he blows hot and cold, there's a lack of depth, which is obvious, as you say, to Man United. And over 38 games, that's going to show. The thing that's in their favor is they're going to be playing one game a season, no European commitments. So it's only when the cup competitions start that they're going to have to play maybe more than one game a season for the most part. And that can be good or bad for a team. I don't know. It will definitely reduce the burden, the workload burden on them over the course of the season. So I think they could gate crash a top 6, top 7 position. I'd put them in the top 7. I think
more or less the same. Yeah.
More towards the back end of it, but it's just a lack of depth, which will tell. They have to hope they don't pick up injuries to key players, build some momentum. They're gonna, it's gonna be an up and down season, but you hope at the end of it, they probably hope that they get top 6, top 7. So yeah, that's how I see them. They're just not going to be consistent enough to finish in the Champions League places in my mind, but it can happen. I think we're heading for the most competitive Premier League season in a long while, just because of the way the sides have strengthened. Arsenal, unprecedented transfer window. Liverpool, new manager, spent quite a lot of money bringing in new players. Chelsea, huge squad. Newcastle in the Champions League. Villa, a bit of a dark horse. And then you got Man United trying to break through all these group of teams. It's going to be an impossible task. So
it's hectic.
Yeah. Everybody is looking monstrous.
You're right.
Yeah.
Everyone, in terms of timing, it's all kind of come to a confluence this season, and everyone's ready to go. They've got their motivations, But yeah, in terms of the squad cycles, it looks that way. And speaking of squad cycles, looking at Liverpool at the moment, they're looking absolutely frightening at the moment. They say build from a position of strength, and Liverpool have certainly done that. Whether it be the case that they get Isak over the line or not, they're a force to be reckoned with. And we didn't cover ourselves in glory at the end of last season, but we still have to respect that they got it over the line in the way in which they did as well. Klopp, Slot coming in first season, so hats off to them. But the ways in which they've strengthened, they've got to be up there as at least one of the favourites.
Yeah.
And what do you think? Are they going to do it again?
I think last season was a bit of an anomaly. What people I absolutely refute the notion that Liverpool were some sort of underdogs last season, because I think they always had a strong team. If you look at the season before, where Arsenal finished just a point behind City, Liverpool actually topped the league for the most amount of weeks in that season 2 seasons ago.
Mm,
I think it was around
interesting.
87 weeks for Liverpool. It was around 70 something for City, and then Arsenal were about 6 or 7 games behind. So Liverpool, for quite an extended period of time in the 23-24 season, were actually topping the table. And then they picked up a few injuries.
Good
Klopp
memory.
announced Klopp announced he was leaving, and all of a sudden they fell apart. They couldn't pick up wins, and then Arsenal overtook them, and then City obviously finished very strongly. So for me, the foundation has always been there for Liverpool as a strong competitor. And fair play to Klopp, he left Slot a very good side, a very top side. Now, this is not to say Slot is not a very good manager. It takes a lot to come into a new club of that magnitude, get them performing straight away, get their players to buy into a philosophy and a way of playing, and then deliver the championship. I think that's a huge achievement. So fair play to him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's almost like this season now is the real test. People are going to be asking questions. Was last season a bit of a one-hit wonder kind of moment? Is this it? And football, I always say one thing about football is football has a funny way of humbling you when you think you're at the top. All it takes is a couple of injuries, a couple of bad results, and then suddenly people will say, "Well, Slot is a one-hit wonder.
Mm,
He's not." Things can change. You look at
mm.
Arteta's situation, for example, and I say to people, like, there is a fine line in football between success and failure when you're at the top.
Yeah, it's almost like Arteta's immune, almost.
Yeah,
I think as far as Slot goes, is it going to be a case of sophomore syndrome? Again, that
yeah,
second season's always a lot more difficult, especially when you come in on fire and deliver a performance in which he has to lead Liverpool to their 20th Premier League title. But the question is, sophomore, the second time round. So, each team has played you at least twice. They understand who you are to a degree, your philosophy, and how you set up. So, these teams, the opposition, they're going to be a lot better prepared. And therefore, I think it won't be such a seamless journey for them. And we have to cite a lack of competition, and this is where we fell short as well. When it comes to really pushing them to the line and expending them, how will they fare? And Liverpool were given grace last season because of that. But they won't have the same opportunity this season. As you said, it's a lot more competitive. And Slot isn't so much of an unknown quantity anymore. And what will that mean to Liverpool and their points tally? And that's what it's going to come down to.
yeah, no, absolutely. I think next season is going to be a bit of it's going to be like the Wild West. Honestly, I see the upcoming season as possibly the most battle crazy, chaotic, wild season we've ever seen in recent years. It's just by the sheer number of players that the top sides have acquired. You look at City; they've done quite good business. From January they spent 200 million. They spent a lot more in the summer as well. They're in a bit of a transition. Nobody knows how City will play. Liverpool again. Two of their fullbacks are new to the team. Although Kirk is obviously it's come from Bournemouth. You got Frimpong. Is he going to be as good as Alexander Arnold going forward? They've got words. So Liverpool favourites, yeah, because the odds say so. They're the reigning world champions and they've strengthened. But again, they could easily find themselves in transition. You look at Arsenal again. Are our new recruits going to bed in? But all these signs point to, everybody wrestling with some sort of turmoil to be competitive. And I think that's going to create this wild competition that's going to be hard to predict. I think the patterns will probably start to emerge after 10 games. You'll start to see who's more balanced, who's more settled. And then maybe we can make a more informed view about who is actually going to last the distance and ultimately win it.
Yeah, I would agree there totally. And then come Christmas, it's the run in, isn't it? So, yeah, I think 10 games into a good sample for us to work with. But yeah, let's see. I mean, it's a shame that it's so early on in the fixtures. That Liverpool game. But again, that could also work in our favour. But I know Liverpool, in terms of togetherness and the unfortunate recent events that we know about and that we've all read about, I'm sure it's going to bring them to a new level of unity and determination, especially at Anfield, where we're not. Again, it's another one of those places where we don't have much of a success rate in recent years. So I'd rather not make a prediction for that one at this point.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather not.
Yeah, the thing is, for Arsenal to win the league, we need to be able to go to Liverpool, Man City, Man United, and win. And for me, that's the challenge. I think now I'm convinced that Arteta can go out, set out, and get a draw. Right.
Yeah, he's
But
proven that.
Yeah, but that's not enough to win the league now. So it's whether City are the very best used to come to the Emirates and win.
Yeah.
They'll go.
Still have the memories.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, 100%. It's even when we went up to City a couple of seasons ago and we drew 1-1 and we saw it as a victory. And I think even Guardiola in the press conference, he said something to the effect of, "Oh well, we were there for the taking," kind of thing. And it is, this prudent approach that we have. But yeah, I agree. To get us over the line, we need to win a couple of those. We don't need to go and win all of them. But yeah, to our direct opponents away from home, we need to collect a couple of those.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we did it in 2001 with Wiltord scoring at Old Trafford. Away from home against the grain. Those results are always in there somewhere in the mix, and they have a psychological bearing as well. So yeah, let's see. But again, with it being so early in the season, there's that unpredictability factor as well that could work in our favour. So yeah, let's see.
Yeah. Like I say, it's almost like you want to measure these games towards the business end of the season. When you're in a title challenge, you need to go to your rival's backyard and pick up a result. But so early in the season, I feel like it's not going to be hugely significant unless we're going to lose badly. But
it's the psychological
thing,
isn't it? But I agree. Look, at the end of the season, we won't be talking about the game we had against Liverpool in a couple of weeks' time. It's too early on. But I agree, it's formative. Once we get to the business end after Christmas, we'll take an inventory check there, maybe. Then we can start to say, well, make some kind of assessment in terms of what the running is for us. But it could work in our favor. It could be one of those things where we catch them and we hit the ground running, and anything's possible. But Liverpool, I mean, I really don't know. I really don't. Maybe you're a little bit more optimistic than me, huh?
Yeah, I think if you're a Liverpool fan as well, I don't think they would be looking forward to playing us that early in the season. Nobody wants this game so early in the season. If I'm being honest,
wants us.
Yeah,
not with that defense.
Yeah, it's almost like for the fans think, do we really need to be playing each other this early in the season? But on the flip side, I think it gives us an easy run in because we get the tough games out of the way quite early in the season. I think when you look at the running, it's actually quite favorable for us. So we'll see. It's going to be a long season. Like you say, it's formative. and it's hard to read into these early games. But the
I
important
will
thing is,
say, if this running, as hard as it is, right, if it goes badly and we find ourselves in mid-November and maybe we've drawn and lost another one or two, there's some serious decisions to be made at Christmas. We've spoken about this. Arteta, he doesn't have any excuses now. He has arguably an excess of resources as far as the Premier League's concerned, at least. Okay, granted, we have other competitions, but there are no excuses now. And if we start badly and it snowballs, he could be in trouble by Christmas. And I think either way, not being too philosophical, I think this season's going to be a success either way as Arsenal supporters. As I said, I think I said earlier, we're going to run away with some silverware, or we're going to get Arteta out. And I'm not an Arteta out kind of guy. I'm the kind of guy. If you're competent, you're doing what's required, then I support you. And even beyond that point, where questions are asked, I am quite patient. I'd like to think I'm reasonable, but at this point, with the amount of resources that he has at his disposal, there's no excuses. There's no excuse for 9-10 losses this season. And I say that because a lot of some of those draws, I saw them as losses and actually equated to losses in the end because we didn't win. But let's see. I mean, what's your feeling on Arteta, and what the landscape looks for him moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a growing. I think there's a growing or an increasing volume of dissenting fans who are starting to get impatient, and some want him out. And I think this season is quite crucial in Arteta buying himself some time, right? And he needs to change a couple of features of his management, which has become almost disliked and hated by the fan base, right? I think the cautious approach is one, the in-game management. I was reading or listening to a reaction video from Adrian Clark, who's a well-known Arsenal commentator, and he mentioned some things that we got wrong last season. And one of them was in-game management. Where we go a goal down in the first 20 minutes, for example, and then we have to fight our way back. Our way to Newcastle was one of them. You started the game very poorly, go a game down. Or where we've only won about 68% of games we've taken the lead in. Liverpool won something like 90%, right? So I think Arteta's game management needs to be closely looked at, and it's in his interest to show a market improvement in his management approach to get some of these dissenting voices to quieten down a bit. Because as you say, this season could be a win-win, because if he gets it wrong, I think the voices are going to grow.
Yeah, those top gooners that were more favourable to him, even they at this point are starting to look at him sideways and starting to lose their patience. And it's reasonable. I would say more than reasonable. 6 seasons at a top European club. I say that without trophies, but you know what I mean. You know what I mean. At a big club. I mean, come on. With the Šeško signing, it would have been that case of, oh, well, he's still developing, and there's a story, there's a narrative there, right? But him buying Gyökeres, that's it. He's put his money where his mouth is, and let's see you deliver now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the worst thing she could give football fans is hope. If you give football fans hope, it's the worst possible disposition for you as a manager, because they are absolutely going to slaughter you if you don't deliver at the end of that hope. And I think that's where we're at the moment. I think fans would have rather preferred the chaotic, mess towards the end of Wenger's era, where we had no hope. There's chaos and everybody was angry. The Club Rose grief cycle. We were going through it. So it was a case of there was a lot of apathy. It went from anger to apathy. Don't care. But once people sense that hope, and this is where we're at. I mean, 3 seasons, finishing second in a row, quarterfinals, semi-final champions. They're like, okay, where is the cherry on top of the cake? We need to see it. So I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword for Arteta. And it's also a bit of an ethical dilemma as well, because I think he's a young manager. He would do very well at other clubs if he moves on. He's quite early in his career. It's not make or break for him, like, if he
No.
was an older manager. So I agree with the analogy you drew. It'd be a win-win either way. He needs to deliver. He needs to change certain facets of his game management that undermined us last season. And it's quite clear that he was absolutely responsible for some of it, notwithstanding the issues with injuries and other factors, which I don't want to get into. But Arteta certainly, I think that it's incumbent on him to make some material changes in his approach to give us a chance of winning something.
And what are those changes from your opinion?
So this is what I'm saying. Get the cautious. The cautious approach, like we got a goal up and we sit on it. We need to be. I think he needs to open up the attack. Hopefully with Gyökeres, etc. That opens our attack a bit more. Sometimes, we're very hard to watch. We got a goal down. We win. We got a goal up in the first 20 minutes, and you don't see the second goal till like the 70th minute.
Yeah.
So there's
It's
this
a
gap.
labour, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite labored. Even against Palace last season, 2-1 up, and it all good. But in all fairness to Arteta, there was an element of lack of options on the bench, injuries, etc. I get all of that, but I think as a manager, when you look at the 5-1 against City, for example, I'm just trying to recall my memory here. There was a flick of switch part through the game where we went a goal up and then we just became negative, and City were controlling the game, and then suddenly it went to 1-1. And I think after half time we just pushed the line up, and then bang, bang,
And world
bang.
of difference, flick to switch.
Yeah, Arteta needs to do that more. Needs to be braver. Needs to be brave in pushing the lines up, taking more risks, and seeing how the team. Now he's got the tools. He's got the players. So I would like to see a bit more adventure. Yeah.
It's a good point. Was he playing more conservatively because of the constraints that he was working under, or is it how he wants to play moving forward? I think it's the latter, because we've seen when he's flicked a switch, and we go back to that 22-23 Arsenal where we were almost swashbuckling and the two wing backs are bombing on. I think it's there in the repertoire. And I think with the personnel that we'll have, it will definitely strengthen those possibilities. The main concern for me with Arteta's more systemic is around his philosophy. And I believe his philosophy, he hasn't said it in so many words. As an observer looking in, it's quite clear his tactics and his philosophy is around control. And control in the principle of the word means to remove uncertainty. So you've got a controlled system and you're trying to remove uncertainty out of it. But what you're doing is, in due course, you can see the effect it's having on the game. It's the same thing, and it comes from Guardiola. This control, positional control, and Cruyff and so forth. Maybe they're the progenitors, all right. But this idea of controlling the game, and it's almost obsessive with Arteta. You see him on the touch lines, and even his intensity in the interviews. You see, it's all about control, passages of play, movements, acts, almost. It's this idea of removing uncertainty, but in doing that, we're removing a lot of what we enjoy in the game, a lot of the things that make football. And great teams in the past, they understood that yes, you need certain elements of control, but you also become adept at managing and thriving in situations of uncertainty. This is the level of thinking. Whereas Arteta is fully embedded in this idea of control, to the point where sometimes it's almost unbearable to watch. You know, and that's the situation that you're talking about against City when we equalised and then we shut up shop, trying to reduce these ideas. And I think I hope that there's a shift, not only for us, but in the game in general. You know, this idea of control has almost got to the point of obsession, where it's impacting how we play. Let's say from an Arsenal perspective, it's over controlling, overbearing, and what's you know what are we ultimately benefiting from? You know.
Yeah. I think this squad, Arteta is almost reminiscent of the Mourinho team of 2005, 2006, the Chelsea team, who were it was all about control, grinding out results, just being a machine. And the unfortunate thing for Arteta is he hasn't got the resources to control all the uncertainties. So whilst you can see we're still failing, even though there is this huge focus on control. That tells me that one is he's either not identified all the uncertainties and addressed it. But I think one reason that you can certainly lay your hands on is that the resources aren't, it's just not quite there. But this season you could say that now we've got the resources, we've got the
But there's a
personnel.
flaw. I think there's a flaw. The flaw is you can't control every uncertainty, especially in a game like football. You can't. And it's, there's a certain level of acceptance. There's certain situations that you can't control. You can kind of account for them or kind of prepare yourself for them in some way, but you can't control every possibility, And this is that concerns me, especially when I look at Gyökeres. Because it's these half chances that he converts. Or is it going to be everything to his feet where he's holding it up, or what is it going to be?
Yeah.
We have to take chances. Not only in how we create opportunities. It's something that I think it's very closely linked to Gyökeres. It's very closely linked to how we transition. We need to have more fluidity and freedom, like the 22-23 season.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that I would say sounds like a positive is that Arteta seems very open-minded now when you look at the players that we've acquired. They're not necessarily players that I think Arteta would necessarily go for, but you can see there's Madueke, Gyökeres, Zubimendi. Okay, Zubimendi is a top, next best six in Europe after Rodri. He was wanted by almost every top team in the world, so that's a given. But I think there's a sufficient variety in the players required for me to think actually Arteta is not as close-minded as Wenger towards the end of the Wenger era, where you could see. Yeah, but
Is that Berta's influence maybe as well? I don't know. I don't want to take anything away, but it's definitely we're going about our business very differently. So.
Yeah, I think we probably would have stuck it out with Sesko and we still would have been trying to negotiate. But the fact that we tried Sesko didn't, RB Leipzig were playing games, we just, pivoted to Gyökeres, tells me that the club now is saying, look, we need to be open-minded, we need to be flexible in our thinking. And for example, Partey, the moment Partey, it looks like Partey was going to go, we identified Norgard, brought him in straight away. Saw an opportunity with Madueke. He's in, so I think Eze is going to happen, honestly. I think. And
that would be amazing. That then we can really start having some serious conversations.
Yeah. So and also don't forget we've got Gabriel Heinz now as part of our coaching staff.
I saw that. No nonsense.
Yeah.
No nonsense. It's all a bit. Some might say it's all a bit nice behind the scenes at Arsenal, and like I said earlier, winners aren't nice. You need to create a competitive environment. You can create competitive environment that isn't confrontational or whatever. I don't really care. For me,
Mhm.
have the confrontations as well. I think that's how you create animals. But yeah, let's see. Let's see.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think for me, I'm looking behind the scenes, and one thing that always concerns me is when a coach starts to surround himself with yes men. But I'm looking up behind the scenes, I'm seeing big personalities now. Gabriel Hines used to play for Man United. Apparently, he's a
Yes,
bit of a bruiser in terms of his
can
coaching. His,
tell.
yeah, his
He's
coaching
playing
style. Yeah, yeah. Arteta's brought him in, so I hope that gives him that different perspective. And like I said, the recruitment has been good. Now it's now down to Arteta to make the deal, to make it work. Ultimately,
100%.
he's the
Yeah,
manager.
over to you. Yeah, over
Yeah,
to you, Arteta. Over
yeah,
to you. And I tell you, if he falls short come Christmas,
yeah.
he's not going to hear the end of it.
No,
Especially with
no,
the investment and the timing of our squad cycle, we can't
mhm,
waste this opportunity on him.
no. That's a good point. Yeah, I don't think the fans would accept, um, this situation being perpetuated any longer than it has to. And things could easily become untenable for Arteta if he doesn't deliver. Doesn't. We need to be competing in the league right up to the last couple of weeks.
Yeah,
We need to probably go. I think we've probably got a better chance of winning the Champions League than the Premier League. Again, it's just the way out because of the way Arteta plays. Yeah,
agreed. Yeah,
yeah. So
agreed. Definitely. When we're
mm,
an unknown quantity, we are, yeah,
yeah,
we
yeah,
can effectively beat anyone on our day. So
yeah.
let's see.
Okay, but yeah, I think this has been a good conversation.
Yeah, I've enjoyed
Yeah,
it. This
we've
is a
had
bit of a pilot. Like,
yeah, yeah. This has
let us
been
know what you think in the comments.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think we've had some conversations around transfers, rivals, the fixture list, Arteta, and expectations for the new season. So I think it's been very cordial. It's been very constructive. Some very insightful comments
Yeah,
from
I've really
yourself.
enjoyed it.
Yeah,
As I
yeah,
said,
yeah.
we're just kind of sharing our conversations with the world, with the YouTube universe, and as always, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure, Dre. And
Yeah,
yeah, like hopefully one of many. We'll get our
yeah.
stuff
No,
set up, and yeah, looking forward to it. But I've really enjoyed it, as I said, and extending my thanks out to you as well.
no, no. I've enjoyed it as well. I think I am. I'm always interested in having my thoughts challenged, and you've made, you know, getting insightful comments and thinking about things very differently. So it's been a good partnership. We haven't just jumped on a stream and agreed with each other, but we've shared very different perspectives and find alignment where we could. So yeah, I think this has been a quality conversation.
Yeah, definitely, and hopefully the viewers can appreciate it as well. And
Yeah,
yeah, and keep a lookout for our following installments.
absolutely, absolutely. So big up to you, AFC Rob. Salute, and
Big up to you, Dre.
yeah, we'll catch up. We'll catch up soon.
Yeah,
Um,
100,
le-
100.
there'll be plenty to talk about, I'm sure. All right.
Blessings, man. Take care.
Peace
All
to
the
you,
best.
bro. Take care.
Peace.